So for those of you who have never heard of Lily Orchard before, Lily Orchard is a very controversial reviewer who started off with critiquing My Little Pony episodes, but she now critiques other shows and even movies now. So on the Christmas of 2020, a reviewer named Star Giant Productions and her friend Dashi YTP decided to make a countdown of the 10 best, worst, and blandest Lily Orchard videos. Needless to say, I didn't really like it. Alright, let's begin.
Cheese.
It's a show about gay princesses saying the f word.
It's an actual good review on a good show on the LGBT community in hell.
Wait, what? That's it? Like, I know that saying elaborate is kind of a cliche point, but Star Giant, you got some explaining to do. Elaborating on your point is especially relevant for people in the audience like me, who never saw Lily's original and they don't care for Lily's content in general. Like, what makes this particular review good? Is it because you agree with Lily's points? Well, no, that can't be the case, because later on in the video, you say that you agree with Lily's points in her Legend of Korra review, yet you still put it on your worst list.
The Legend of Korra is cliche after cliche after cliche. Good night.
To be as honest as possible, I think this video has some well-constructed arguments, even as a guy who loves Legend of Korra. And sure, I obviously don't agree with everything here from this video, but that's not why I think this is one of Lily's worst videos ever.
So is this one of Lily's best videos because she is praising something that you like? Is that it? Because that doesn't necessarily make for a valid review. It just means that you two agree with something for once. A video that you agree with can still be wrong and have fallacies. So why are the points good? I don't know, because you don't tell me. Also, just because it has LGBT characters in it, that doesn't necessarily make it a good review. And sure, I guess you could say that these entries for the list are short so that the video doesn't drag on, but I'd argue that the entries are far too short to the point where I don't know where Star Giant is coming from. Maybe she kept the entries short in order to get the video out by Christmas, but I'd say that it's worth delaying a video and working on the video more for a better final product. I'd say that's better than having a list with several vague entries.
Focus more on the world, the bronies cried out for years. Move away from the main six
Imagine actually trying to validate your reasoning for something. Nah, that's just overrated.
The Legend of Korra is cliche after cliche after cliche. Good night.
To be as honest as possible, I think this video has some well-constructed arguments, even as a guy who loves Legend of Korra. And sure, I obviously don't agree with everything here from this video, but that's not why I think this is one of Lily's worst videos ever. No, it's the fact that it's long and boring. It's just political pointless that amounts to literally nothing worthwhile. Why is this Lily's most viewed video again with over 5.5 million views?
Oh joy, I finally get to talk about politics on this channel. So what makes the politics of Legend of Korra pointless? Is it because you don't like politics? Well, one, if you were apolitical, that doesn't necessarily make political discussions invalid, because politics are still important to many. And two, I know you don't think of politics as pointless because you admitted your political stance earlier in the video.
And that attitude can f off and die in a ditch along with the malignant human cancer that defend it.
Josh Scorcher falling out with Lily has been talked about to death. I may be a left-leaning liberal, kind of like what Lily Orchard is, but I still side with Josh in this situation.
So why are the politics of Legend of Korra pointless? Is it because you don't think that politics should be applied to a cartoon? Because with the Legend of Korra, the writers were practically asking for their work to be viewed in a political way. For example, one of the main villains of the first season is Amon, a man who believed that non-benders, people without powers, were being oppressed by benders, people with powers.
In the very first episode, Korra, and by extension the viewer, is introduced to a protest about benders oppressing non-benders. This fundamental issue forms the basis of the entire season's conflict, with the main villain being the leader of the so-called equalists who want to strip benders of their power after being oppressed by them for so long.
A lot of people have compared this to communism, but even if it isn't communism, it's still hard to put into a non-political context. because issues that affect the way that people live in a society will always be at least a little political. There are other antagonists like this as well, like this one anarchist who believes that chaos is the natural order, which I think is stupid, but that's not the point. And that's ignoring how the creators have admitted that the show is politically driven. You also never say why Lily's video is boring. As for the video being long, well, she is covering all aspects of a show that is 4 seasons long. Of course, the video will be kind of lengthy. Like, long videos are not necessarily a bad thing. Oh yeah, also in the number 10 spot of this list, which I skipped earlier, Star Giant put a video where Lily supports committing a felony.
And that attitude can f off and die in a ditch along with the malignant human cancer that defend it.
Josh Scorcher falling out with Louis has been talked about to death. I may be a left-leaning liberal, kind of like what Louis Orchard is, but I still side with Josh in this situation. And I really loved meeting him at BronyCon all 3 times that I did. And I too also miss Louis and Josh's friendship, but Louis needs to know that telling people to assault people they don't like is a felony.
Meanwhile, the Legend of Korra video is in the number 9 segment, which means that apparently the Legend of Korra video, a video that Star Giant actually kind of agrees with, is worse than a video where Lily supports a literal crime. That makes no sense though. Finally, can I just mention that Star Giant made the drastic claim of Lily supports assault without showing any evidence to back this up? Like, Star Giant is playing footage from Lily's video, but that footage has stuff like screenshots and Josh Scorcher crying in the shower, which does not actually support Star Giant's claim. Star Giant continues to show no evidence for stuff throughout the video, by the way.
Ishtibabu.
In this glass of water, Louis talks about why an infant that is useless and does nothing at all, and that Louis literally calls her a plot device, and yet at the same time thinks it's better than a fully wonderful and developed cast of great characters.
Wait, what? How does that make any sense?
And that's the video.
If you unironically use the term horse fame, then you're a fucking idiot.
Sometimes Lily can talk bronies and actually be good about it.
Did you know that Kingdom Hearts only got greenlit because Shinji Hashimoto got stuck in an elevator with a Disney executive?
You know how Louis puts in a ton of effort into both her Korra and Steven garbage rants that are bad, but at the same time you wish she put in that effort into something good? Yeah, this video is those 2 rants done right.
Pay the attention.
That mentality could die in a ditch. Every criticism on me is wrong, and you need to hate people that I hate, and stop attacking me for hating a show that a lot of people love, and that right is wrong. At least that's the best way I can sum up what this one was. You're all just so bleh!
9 Star Child constellations out of 10.
Wait, a video from Lily where she just analyzes the show and characters and doesn't figure about real people? That's actually amazing!
Yeah, it's almost as if that's what a critic is supposed to do.
The editing in this video is absolutely brilliant. Alright, so for those who don't know, the voice that you just heard is the voice of Star Giant's co-op partner, Dashi YTP. Yeah, despite the fact that this is a co-op, Star Giant and Dashi do not really interact much. Anyway, Dashi usually uses pictures of her original character when she is talking in the video, and that original character is a blue pony in a box. However, at this point of the video, the blue pony has disappeared from the screen, so now Dashi is just a voice. You can call this nitpicking if you want, but when something this consistent happens with the video, it's almost impossible not to notice. Plus, the criticism of your nitpicking implies that nitpicks are not inherently bad, which isn't true, so no, I will not stop nitpicking.
Cheese.
Ow! My childhood hit me with a stick!
Louis talking about Family Guy is kind of cool. Vaguely shit-talking Mr. Enter for having different Family Guy tastes, believes that he defends racists and pedophiles without proof, and Louis missing the point on technocracy, as well as her shit-talking John simply because John collaborated with Josh Scorcher, and even Louis comparing John to Starlight Glimmer, are all things that make me say, learn to critique.
Is this a critique?
Oh, I'm sorry. You want me to properly critique Louis Orchard? Well, I want her to properly critique Mr. Enter. Looks like we both lose on this one.
And now they're both gone. Where did they go?
Cheese.
Don't try to do my job, DHX. You're not very good at it. You can barely do the job you have now.
Aw, is Orchard having to fit over what was actually an amazing episode, and yet they call her despite that point having no relations to you and it actually meaning the term half full, half empty, but yet you only see shit because you're bad at being a critic.
Alright, Star Giant, it was an amazing episode to you. Lily thinks differently. Now, using your opinion in a countdown is fine. The problem here is that this entry is on the list because of a simple disagreement of opinions. And going back to the Korra segment for a second, Star admits that she enjoys Korra, and yet her enjoyment of Korra has nothing to do with the Korra video being on the list.
To be as honest as possible, I think this video has some well-constructed arguments, even as a guy who loves Legend of Korra.
So why isn't she applying the same standard here?
Here's the cutest cat ever. It's the cutest cat ever because it's my kitty. Doom Kitty. I'm throwing in a train in it as well because I unironically love trains.
Oh, here's some more cute stuff. Yeah, this is adorable. Look at this kitty. Look at this pretty little kitty. What we're getting at is, Lily, maybe you're focusing on the wrong things. Excuse me while I go pet this cat. Come here, Smokey.
Alright, so I was going to skip over this point when I was originally scripting something, but then I was like, no, I'm hitting this point because I don't like it. Cause like, why are you talking about your cat? Your cat isn't Lily Orchard. You should be talking about Lily, because this video is about her, not the cat. I don't care about your cat.
Cheese.
You just got burned!
I know that I'm nowhere near the first person to beat this drum, but this drum needs to be beaten again. The best thing that Lily has ever done was being Josh Scorcher's editor. That was where her real talent shined, and that was also where she was most enjoyable. Lily was really the only reason why I became Mr. Enter's editor in the first place. I saw this fun video, and it made me want to get into editing. So yeah, this video here is important to me.
So I decided to find the video in question because with the screenshot that Star Giant is providing, I could conclude that this is not a video from Lily Orchard. It's not even a re-upload of a Lily Orchard video either. No, it's a video narrated by Josh Scorcher on a collaboration channel. The only connection that this video has to Lily Orchard is the fact that she edited it. So no, I do not think that this counts as a Lily Orchard video. And you want to know who else agrees with me? Dashy YTP. You know, the co-op partner.
Some rules first.
Yes?
No filler entries. They have to be your actual opinions. No top number lists from Lily on this list. No random joke videos like the ponies with hats. No in-a-minute videos unless they are roundups. Make sure they're actual reviews from Lily, like say the glass of water or first impressions videos, because those go in depth with her opinion. You can also include videos from her from other channels, as long as she appears in the majority of them, or have some sort of speaking role, like her appearance on Josh Scorcher's collab, anything of the sorts.
And sure, Dashi said that they can count videos with speaking roles from Lily, but Lily does not speak in this video. A pony that represents her avatar appears in the video a couple of times, but never in a speaking role.
Ladies and gentlemen, you have just witnessed the creepiest line delivery of the show. Excuse me a moment while I take this time to find my Celestia plushie and whimper in the fetal position. Totally worth it.
And Dashi also says that the videos from other channels are fair game for this list, but only if Lily Orchard appears for a majority of them.
You can also include videos from her from other channels, as long as she appears in the majority of them, or have some sort of speaking role.
So yeah, putting this on the list completely goes against the list's criteria.
Aw, Starlight got away with it and learned nothing.
Hey, it's a MLP parody on Jello Apocalypse. That's a cool idea, and... Wait, why is this video out suspiciously a week after Josh's video on the same subject? Oh, this video was only made out of spite. Luna Korra even told me this in my first Louis critique video from 2 years ago. Why can't you get over Josh when he himself has gone over you? It's just... It's fine. The actual video is fine. Some points I agree on, some I don't. All I have to say is, if more views is what it takes to be better, Louis, then my thoughts on MLP are better because I have more views than you, Lily.
When did this become about views, though? Lily apparently said that her motivations for making the Jello Apocalypse parody were to one-up Josh Scorcher. What does that have to do with views? Is there something you're not telling me? Is there a piece of context missing? I don't know, and I refuse to spend several hours searching for this hypothetical lost context because you're supposed to be the one who provides evidence since you made the points about Lily in the first place. Also, how is this video bland? Because this is a video on your blandest list, yet you said that the video was fine and you seemed relatively interested in the video's backstory. Now, let's compare that to Star Giant's number 10 blandest entry, where Star Giant says that the subject matter of Lily's video does not interest her.
Anything World of Warcraft doesn't interest me.
There are some other videos that are on the blandest list that shouldn't be there because Star Giant's criticisms don't have anything to do with being bland.
Pay the attention.
That mentality could die in a ditch. Every criticism on me is wrong, and you need to hate people that I hate, and stop attacking me for hating a show that a lot of people love, and that right is wrong. At least that's the best way I can sum up what this one was. You're all just so bleh.
This wasn't one of your best ideas, hon.
I find it hilarious how Wesley used to say that this was Lily's worst video, when in all reality it's just Lily babbling like an idiot for 15 minutes.
Cheese.
You headed to opening ceremonies? All right!
You, Akko.
Oh boy, is somebody salty. Lily thinks she knows everything about a country's animation by only seeing less than a dozen shows from that country. See, it's one thing when we have idiots say that animation is a genre like for streaming services, quote-unquote professional critics, or hack that think animation is for kids. Jeez, Brad Bird would be proud of me. But Lily here wishes that animation was just a genre. Lily thinks that Japanese animation should just be comedy. Well, for one, there is Japanese animation that does exist that is just comedy. But more importantly, by keeping everything just one genre, you eliminate other types of genre, and that makes everything all the same and bland. What kind of fan of animation wants that for all of animation?
I know this is hard to grasp, but telling me that I'm right not just about a few shows, but about an entire medium is not the smart rebuttal you think it is.
Hey, this is one of the only Lily Orchard videos that I've actually seen. So as a person that has actually watched this video, I can safely say that you are completely misrepresenting it. Lily never actually said that Japanese animation should all just be comedy. She said that anime is best suited for comedy because anime is badly animated.
But Little Witch Academia was different because the excuses I got was that it was better that the series got more into its plot because high-stakes action and flashy battles is what Trigger does best. No it's not. They're terrible at action scenes. Almost all the action scenes in their shows are slow, floaty special effects blowouts that barely qualify as action scenes. Mind you, this isn't unique to Trigger. No animated TV series does action scenes well because the budget for that level of animation and choreography just isn't there. But I'd argue that there's one genre that Trigger is not only especially good at, but that most Japanese cartoons have always been good at: comedy. You see, the stilted and jump cut heavy animation style of most Japanese cartoons is silly by nature, and thus lends itself really well to absurdity and thus to comedy.
You completely misconstrued Lily's argument. And, you know, maybe Star Giant did this more than once, and several of Lily's videos have been misrepresented by her. Maybe that's the case, but I don't feel like looking through several Lily Orchard videos, and I shouldn't have to, because I can tell that Star Giant has these videos downloaded, and therefore she should play clips of Lily herself if she wants to get her point across. Mostly because misrepresenting your subject is one of the worst things you can do in a video like this.
I always wondered what would happen if Honeycrisp Tales became a show.
I think that Lily should just stick to talking positively about animation, because that tends to make her better reviews.
It's funny how in the last segment, Star Giant says that not all anime should be comedic, and here she says that Lily's reviews should stick to being positive. One moment, she says that not all anime should just be comedy, and then she implies that Lily should just make positive reviews. This would have been less unfortunate if Star Giant said that Lily's best reviews are her positive ones.
Her Hilda review is just so fun and cute, and I like the comparison that she makes to Calvin and Hobbes.
And how does she compare Hilda to Calvin and Hobbes? Star Giant doesn't say.
I was originally going to put her Owl House reviews at this spot because they were actually pretty good in terms of the content, but those had her talking 2010s animation throughout all of it, as well as Rebecca Sugar. Hilda at least avoids those things there.
Is that necessarily a bad thing though? Like, oh no, she dislikes 2010s animation. I don't know how that's bad. Unless it's bad for reasons that you don't say, but, well, you didn't say those reasons.
These heteros making me upset around.
I was apparently wrong on Lily being alone considering that she's engaged to Michaela. That's nice, and while I'm fine with Lily doing that, I don't care much about her personal life too much. But what Lily says on LGBT does bother me. Sure, I'm glad that she's LGBT supportive, but it's too much. She's the type of person that the LGBT community gets stereotyped as. And I agree with my fanbase on how Lily was too aggressive with the Steven Universe gay marriage.
By the power vested in me by the state of Delmarva, I now pronounce you Garnet.
Just say wife. It's not hard.
Yikes.
Wait, so that's aggressive to you? Hearing Lily getting kind of mad over not hearing the word wife is aggressive? Like, yeah, it's really nitpicky, but I wouldn't call it aggressive. Also, the audio balancing here is kind of bad. Like, I had my volume all the way up, and yet I could still barely hear the video. You should raise the volume of clips that are quieter than your voice in the future. This was better than previous segments though, because we actually have a Lily clip, so at least that was done right.
Cheese.
Seriously though, there are a lot of like so many
Something, something, something. Star Wars. Something, something, something. You suck, Lily Orchard. Most humans don't even try any of these ships. What the hell are you doing? What the f? No one tries these ships, you motherfucker. Something, something, something. Bland.
Yes, no one actually enjoys these particular ships. That's why I can search up the term Reylo and get several results for it. Like, Reylo was Lily's main example, and these were only the first few results I got. And Lily even gives examples of Reylo fans in the video. So when you say no shipping is happening, you are ignoring the evidence.
Sugar, you are such a creep!
Well, if we were to judge this video after watching every single Steven Universe episode,
and if we were to factor in the 2 times I talked about this from my first 2 Lily videos,
and if we saw this from Lily's point of view and we really thought about this,
I can come to the conclusion about this review that everyone talked about as we both have no idea what to say about this one.
If you don't know what to say about it, then why is it on a list where you're trying to prove how bad these videos are? Better yet, if you don't know what to say about it, then why is it number 2 on a list where you try to prove Lily's flaws? And you want to know what makes this worse? Star Giant says that she talked about this video in her past Lily Orchard videos. Why can't Star summarize what she said in those videos? In the context of a countdown, you have to have reasoning for your opinions, or else the audience doesn't understand where you're coming from, so this doesn't even work as a joke.
Cheese.
I can't even dislike Louis' blandest video now. It's just laughably bad to me now, like it's so bad it's good, like The Room. For what it's worth, I highly doubt that I'll ever forget this video from Lily Orchard.
Can I just mention how Dashi's character is on Lily's video for a split second when Star Giant cuts to that video as footage? Star Giant really isn't the best editor out there, huh?
Now, let's end 2020 with another Lily Orchard video that I'm never going to forget.
I'm gonna find you and put a bullet in that inflated head of yours.
My number 1 choice for the worst Lily Orchard video of all time is the Disney Roundup.
wait, hold on. I thought that Steven Universe's Garbage and Here's Why video would be number 1.
No, this video is the most vile review that I have ever seen.
How could this be anything worse than what we've seen so far?
Well, let's dive in. We need to first talk about Walt Disney because he is important to this segment. If you don't know, Walt Disney is the founder of Disney. While Walt didn't invent the medium of animation, that goes to either James Stewart Blackton or Emil Cole, Walt was at least the 3rd person in existence to take animation as a medium. Winsor McCay was the first, and Winsor McCay inspired Walt Disney.
You really didn't need to mention Winsor McCay though. Like, yeah, he inspired Disney and he was one of the first animators ever, but that's just trivia at best. The fact that he inspired Disney is not crucial to this entry. It could have been left out without changing much.
Let me tell you some gambles that Disney himself did. While he made Snow White, he sold both his car and his home to help fund the movie. Everyone in existence called him insane. He stayed up for hours and hours making this film for years, and because of that he was very successful with his company, and he very influenced everyone there. Actually, even after Walt's death, we're still getting things that wouldn't be possible without him. The Warner Brothers and Warner's sister, the Eds from Ed, Edd and Eddy, all of My Little Pony Friendship is Magic, Steven Universe, SpongeBob SquarePants, films today like Into the Spider-Verse or Spirited Away. It's hard to imagine what the medium of animation would be like without Walt's influence. Actually, let me answer that statement. There would be no medium. Animation would have been a genre at best solely for kids like 1970s animation, or at worst, not even exist. And that's not even mentioning the school that Disney founded, CalArts, that helped many amazing people like Brad Bird, Steven Hillenburg, and Tim Burton. Each of the things that I said about Walt Disney, they are things that Louis Orchard knows about, but she goes out of her way to talk them. Instead of talking about the amazing things that Walt has done, she decides to just call him a Nazi, and a racist as well.
You know, Disney was long rumored to have been a Nazi sympathizer, and watching most of his older movies, I'm starting to see exactly why people got that impression.
Disney movies and racism have historically gone together like bronies and child sex trafficking. Walt, what's wrong with you? I mean, I know you can't answer me because you're dead, but what's wrong with you?
You do know that Walt made propaganda cartoons about World War II, right? And hell, at the age of 17, he joined the army to help out America. But I'm guessing that good research on Walt was not good enough. You only wanted to copy off what Family Guy said about him.
I promised myself I wasn't gonna get mad, so I'm not gonna get mad. As for Lily saying that Walt might have been a bad person, well, it's not like she's wrong though. Lily uses the crows from Dumbo as an example, and they live on in infamy because they resemble racist caricatures for their condescending attitude towards Dumbo, and because of their stereotypical accent. She uses Peter Pan as another example, and again, there is offensive material in that movie as well. It depicts Native Americans as antagonists, therefore painting them in a bad light, and their leader is referred to as the Red Man. Now, of course, the word red is not offensive on its own. It's kind of like the Spanish word for black, not offensive unless it's used in a racial context. As for what Family Guy said about Walt, with the example that you gave, they just made fun of the fact that he was anti-Semitic, and there is evidence to prove that he was anti-Semitic.
Or how about just talking all of Snow White?
I wouldn't say Snow White is aged poorly, as that would imply that it was ever actually any good. Maybe Disney should have spent less time pushing a heterosexual agenda and more time writing a story.
Or a lot of films on this list that she gives poor reviews into, like Beauty and the Beast, The Lion King, and Aladdin.
Is there anything wrong with her disliking these movies though? Like, if she dislikes them, so be it. Like, I genuinely cannot see this as an actual problem with the video. There's nothing wrong with her talking badly about Snow White. It's an influential movie, but she can still look at it as a movie. Also, after this point, Star Giant plays footage of Lily saying bad things about Disney movies, even though the examples are of movies that were made after Walt's death in the 60s. It's kind of funny how someone who spent so long talking about Walt's contributions to society then uses examples of movies that Walt had no involvement in. Star Giant then makes some other points at the end of the video, but I don't have anything to say about them. In fact, I don't have much more to say in general. Yeah, that's right, the video's over. You can go now.